Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hard-hitting news the network refuses to use, no doubt continues now. This, my fellow Americans, is the broadcast for March 18th in the year of our Lord 2025. This is Hour 2 of 2, the goal always to protect life, liberty, and property, to promote God, family, and country, to do so on your radio in the traditions of our founding fathers. We use the supreme law of the land, including all the checks and balances, to make America great. The supreme law of the land is just what it says, the supreme law. All right? Donald Trump doing a great job challenging the courts at every level, defying the courts in some cases. Good for him. Needs to happen. The activist judges need to be impeached, and Congress needs to step up to the plate, get it done. The sooner the better. But Congress is basically yay, thumbs up to Donald verbally. But behind the scenes, I personally think Congress is undermining every branch of government, and they've been doing so for a long time. They're absolutely compromised by lobbyists. They're absolutely compromised by betrayal, by, what's the term? When you have goods on somebody and you blackmail them. Yeah, blackmail, betrayal. The list goes on and on. Congress has absolutely been the problem. The judges are taking too much power. The president's taking too much power because Congress is not in the game. That's got to change. The only way it's going to change is if we the people make it change. Call your congressman, call your senator and say you need to get on the things that matter the most. I'd love to see a list of what Congress has done since they started this congressional term on January the 3rd, 2025. February 3rd, March 3rd. Wow. March. Let's see. March 18th. So they've been at it for the, January 3rd, February 3rd, March 3rd. That's 2 months. The 18th, that's 2 weeks. They've been at it about 10 weeks now. What have they done in 10 weeks for you? Have they reduced the size and scope of government? No, they just passed a big old spending bill. They didn't do much of that. Are they back in Doge? No, not really. They're talking about it. They're all conflicted. Are they impeaching judges? No, they're just sitting. Are they backing the president? No, they're just kind of sitting around. I don't know what they're doing, folks. Whenever I call my congressional critters, I don't even get anybody to answer the phone to talk to me. Not even an aide, not even an assistant anymore to answer me. That's how paralyzed. That's how inert. That's how compromised, whatever you want to say, Congress has become. It's a disgrace. All right, now, Trump wants to deport everybody. That's the claim from the mainstream press, liberal, whacked-out press. That's a lie. Trump does not want to deport everybody. Trump only wants to deport the illegals. Oh, imagine that. Trump is right. Tom Holman is right. Kristi Noem is right. Okay, that we need to stop and assess. We're deporting illegals, and we said we're going to start with the most criminal among them. And the liberals are just all up in arms, have a problem with that. I don't know why. Well, the problem is whoever controls the narrative, whoever controls that's what, they're going to win. Whether it be an election, whether it be the crisis of the day, whether it be whatever, whoever controls the narrative wins. And we've allowed the mainstream press to control the narrative in bed with government for way too long. It's going to stop now. The new media is taking center stage, and I'm grateful to be part of it. Anyway, so there's a big battle between Trump and the deportation and all this stuff, right? And the liberals are telling you that Trump wants to deport everybody. That's a lie, blatant, flat-out lie. He just wants to deport illegals. Anyway, now it's become an international discussion because I guess this French whacked-out president, I don't even know what you call this guy. He's an idiot. France is demanding that the U.S. return Lady Liberty. Yeah. Here's how the Trump White House responded. Townhall.com with this piece. Basically, Karoline Leavitt, I don't know why I said Karen. Karoline Leavitt doing a phenomenal job. She basically just, pushed back very hard. And she just said, hey, you guys are clowns. Right? Karen Leavitt reminded a French politician. The guy's name is Raphaël Glucksmann or whatever he is. A member of the, quote, Socialist and Democrat group in the European Parliament. Hey, your people would be speaking German if it wasn't for the United States, she says. I think she's right. I think Karoline Leavitt is right as rain. They would be speaking German if it wasn't for us. But, that really isn't the point. Although I think it's a good slap back, and I commend Karoline for literally, stating it as it needs to be. I think she's right. But I look at it and say, you know what? It doesn't matter if you deserve or don't deserve. That's not the discussion. It was given to the United States. And Lady Liberty is the United States. Right? And I find it interesting that we're debating this right now. So I appreciate Karoline's clapback on that. Good for her. But at the same time, I just go, we're wasting our time even debating this with these international clowns. So here's what I think we should do now to this French whacked out politician. Right? Think about this. The French politician, Raphaël Glucksmann, a member of the Socialists and Democrats group in the European Parliament. Fine. Let's then start to send all these illegals to Europe. If they're so willing to take the masses, here's what we need to do. We need to create a replica of Lady Liberty, right? The Statue of Liberty, and go ahead and, give them a gift and say, we're sending all the tired masses and all the, come one, come all idea to you now. And we'll make you a copy of the, Statue of Liberty. And, you guys can take all these illegals that we don't want. See, that's the problem that we're dealing with here. These politicians, whether they're in the United States, the liberal whacked out Democrats, or whether we're talking about internationally speaking, these whacked out Socialist Party leaders from European Parliament or whatever else, all these clowns don't have it right. The discussion is not that we're not willing to take people into the United States. What we're not willing to do is let you come here illegally. That's the problem. That's the term. And I'm telling you right now, this whacked out Glucksmann person, Raphael, would be all up in arms if we said, we're just going to send all these people to you. He'd be like, no, you can't do that. That's illegal. Oh, really? That's illegal, huh? So I think we need to mock these people. And we need to somehow create a website. I wish I had the money and the time and the staff to do these things. All I'd have to do is create Lady Liberty jokesonyou.com. And we could create little Statue of Liberty replicas, tiny ones, that we could just sell and raise millions of dollars. And on it would say, hey, France is ready to take all of our illegals. And would just, give them a copy. And, we really need to do those kind of things. We need to shame these people. And the way we do that, in my opinion, is just mock them a little bit. Just be like, are you kidding me right now? Make America great again. The French want the illegals. Or the European, whatever, wants to send them all over there. They love it. I mean, they're having rapes and pillages and plunderings by all kinds of people invading their country as it is. We've seen that over the years. So let's just, let's send all of the illegals to these clowns, right? But anyway, this French politician is basically, acting like, oh, you guys don't deserve the Statue of Liberty because you're not willing just to just take everybody under the sun that's illegally there. Folks, we've got to set the record straight. You got to mock them into accountability here. And so there you have it. Time will tell where that goes, but I just found that very interesting, to say the least. Karoline Leavitt doing a great job reminding this French politician, you guys would be speaking German, man. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't really believe that's true, but that's a whole other topic. I don't believe the narrative that we have on World War II and the need to be involved in the, quote, World War. And I think we were snookered and lied to and manipulated and dishonestly backed into that war because the people didn't want war. And they knew they had to lie and cheat and manipulate and create a first strike on Pearl Harbor to get us into that war. They knew, okay, but they're working on doing that again. And if Donald Trump is not very careful, write it down. I'm the only one speaking out about this. Everybody I talk to just goes, oh, I don't know about that, Sam. But I'm telling you, I bet you that they're going to try and turn Donald Trump into a wartime president. I pray we don't have war on his watch, but I really think everything they're doing will eventually work round to that. By the way, Trump's supposed to be meeting with the Russian president today to get to the bottom of things and stop the Ukraine-Russia war. I appreciate Donald trying to advocate for peace there. I really do. I'm grateful for that. But at the same time, I kind of say, why does Trump even need to be in the discussion? Why does Trump even need to be involved in that at all? Why does he have to set up a meeting with Russia and the Ukraine? Why don't we just get the funding out of it, and why don't we just stay out of it? Right? I just don't understand. I don't understand why we allow this to happen. Why are we allowing our president to be involved in these negotiations at all?
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began. Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
So the point is, Trump and Putin to speak today as Trump seeks an end to the Ukraine war. Now, I appreciate that. I'd like an end to the Ukraine war as well. But I really do wonder, folks, why do we need Trump to negotiate the end of that war? Right? Who put Trump in charge? Right? Who put Donald Trump in charge of that in the first place? So I don't really stand with this. I mean, I get the goal for peace, but I think what Trump should do is give both Ukraine and the Russian leadership a copy of the Constitution. Say, hey, guys, this is how we stay out of wars, and this is how you ought to stay out of wars. Of course, it hasn't worked very well for us because we don't obey the Constitution, right? That is indeed the problem. Anyway, I digress. I'm just saying I don't know why Trump has to be the leader in this. The whole war is going to sink or swim or fail or succeed based on Donald. Why? He's not even Russia or the Ukraine. Those are the two countries that are at war. We're literally thousands of miles away from both of them. Has Congress given any authority or funding to be involved? Well, they've kind of backhandedly given funding. Yeah, let's get into that. We've given plenty of money to the cause, plenty of military hardware to the cause. Why are we even involved is my question. I think it's a fair question, but nobody seems to be asking that, really, but me and a few other anti-war folks. And good for them for asking it, but where's the mainstream press? Nowhere. Well, I hope Trump and Putin do speak. And I hope peace is on both of their minds. But I don't think it's up to Donald Trump to negotiate a peace agreement between these two countries. Let these two sovereign nations work it out themselves and get the heck out of it. Well, I'll tell you how they're doing it and why they're doing it. Because we've allowed unlimited money to be in the hands of Congress, or unlimited money to be in the hands of government, or unlimited money to be in the hands of, I'm not even sure who, the deep state. That's what the debate is now. There's two interesting stories about Elon Musk's incredible efforts over at Doge that deserve your understanding. Here they are. Elon Musk reveals the, quote, 14 magic money computers. They create money out of nothing. Where do I get this, you ask? WorldNet Daily, WND.com. Author, this one is by Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz does a show. Ted Cruz had on Elon Musk. And they talked about these 14 magic money computers. Think about that. They got magic money computers that create money out of thin air. Here's the details.
You may think that the government computers like all talk to each other. They synchronize. They add up what funds are going somewhere, and it's it's coherent. There's and that the numbers, for example, that you're presented as a senator, are actually the real numbers.
One would think.
One would think. They're not.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're not totally wrong, but they're probably off by 5% or 10% in some cases. So I call a magic money computer any computer which can just make money out of thin air. That's magic money.
So how does that work?
It just issues payments.
And you said there's something like 11 of these computers at Treasury that are sending out trillions in payments?
They're mostly at Treasury. Some are, but there's some at HHS, some there's one or two at State, there's some at DOD. I think we found now 14 magic money computers.
14, okay.
They just send money out of nothing.
Think about a statement like that from the richest man in the world, running Doge on behalf of Donald Trump under the direction of other people, finding out that you've got 14 magic money computers that just absolutely create money out of thin air and send it out. Think about that. And this isn't my assertion. This isn't a conspiracy theory assertion. This isn't an undercover video that caught somebody that might have been speaking out of turn. This is Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, running Doge for Trump, talking to Senator Ted Cruz. Think about that for a minute, people. Think about that for a minute. And then it gets worse because they have another conversation. Elon Musk says Democrats using $200 billion in, quote, tax money to take, well, support in elections. Goal is to have so many illegals added to the voter rolls. Hey, you can't vote your way out of this thing. Bob Unruh over at WND.com with this piece. I want to play this. You got to start about, 50 seconds or something like that into this one, Liz, to get kind of the right spot. They do this weird introduction. We'll skip that, and we'll start with this. Listen to Elon Musk and Ted Cruz on this one.
Well, let me start with a question you know a lot about. Which was worse, the mess you found at Twitter or the mess you found in the federal government?
Well, it's hard to compete with the federal government.
What surprised you about the federal government? I assume you came in and assumed it was bad. Is it worse than you expected?
It is worse than I expected, but on the plus side, that means there's more opportunity for improvement. So if you look on the bright side, there's actually a lot of opportunity for improvement in federal government expenditures because it's so bad. If it was a well-run ship, it would be very difficult to improve.
So,
so now it's like if people say, well, how do you figure out how to save money in the federal government? Well, it's like being in a room where the walls, the roof, and the floor are all targets. So you shoot in any direction,
and you
can't miss.
Wow.
Again, I'm sure you would agree.
So a lot of folks have talked about like
You can't
miss.
Yeah. Just go any direction.
a lot of the crazy expenditures, things like $2 million for sex change surgeries in Guatemala,
An essential.
transgendered mice and Sesame Street in Iraq. A lot of that has gotten attention, but some of the stuff you've told me about, like tell us about computer licenses in government agencies.
Yeah. So most of what Doge is finding, you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes. Okay, it's very obvious, basic stuff. So in every government department, I say every because we've not yet found a single exception. There are far too many software licenses and media subscriptions, meaning many more software licenses and media subscriptions than there are humans in the department.
Like you were saying, like an agency with 15,000 people might have 30,000 licenses.
Yes.
And even of the 15,000 employees, a good chunk of them hadn't used the license, had never logged on or used the application.
Yes. We found entire situations of software licenses or media subscriptions where there were 0 logins.
Wow.
So it had
and yet we were paying for it.
Yes, so the government was paying for thousands of licenses of software or media subscriptions, and no one had ever logged in even once.
All right, go ahead and pause
Or
real quick.
credit
Liz.
cards. You found the same thing with government credit.
So this is an example, ladies and gentlemen. You've got they found a way to pay these big media companies, and they basically had licensing. Hey, you can use our system. You can log in, have a user, and so the equivalent would be if you sign up for the Blaze or sign up for WorldNet Daily or whatever. They had these liberals had a deal with government where they'd have all these licenses. The problem is they have way too many licenses for the number of people, and they have people who never use the licenses. So you need to get people on the stand and say, did you know you had a license to this? And if you did, and you knew it was being paid for, how come you weren't using it? And if you were using it, well, why would you have a liberal news service? Okay, millions, billions of dollars. It's hard to even know how much, right? Because when you can create money out of thin air, and we're talking in this case, they say $200 billion in tax money to go ahead and buy support in elections. Okay, what does that mean? I mean, you can't even know what money's where. But here's the point. I appreciate Elon Musk blowing the whistle to Ted Cruz on this. I really appreciate it. But at the end of the day, is anybody's head going to roll over this, figuratively speaking? Is anybody going to be in trouble over this? Is anybody going to go to jail over this? Are the American people going to force somehow some of these big corporate whatever to refund the money? If you're a company and you give somebody 1,000 licenses for something and you find out that nobody used one of them at all, at some point was a service rendered? And at some point, I mean, I work in the corporate world with computer business licenses all the time and software licenses. And, somebody needs to be auditing this stuff. Who was doing it before Doge and before Elon Musk? It sounds like nobody. Well, the companies who have these large accounts have obligations to provide reports. Hey, you've got 10,000 licenses, 5,000. No one's ever even signed into these. We would recommend you reduce your licenses. Now, that's less revenue for your company, but it's the honest, right thing to do. But nobody's going to monitor on the government side. Nobody's going to monitor on the other side. It's a disgrace, folks. When we come back from the break, I want to play a little bit more of this. It's a big, long interview. It's like 30 minutes long because, as far as I understand, Ted Cruz does some kind of a talk show or whatever. What's that thing called, Liz? This third soundbite, what's the name of that? Okay, The Verdict. He does this talk show or whatever called The Verdict. And he's interviewing Elon Musk on this. And I really appreciate the interview, but it's over 30 minutes long. We can't play it all. But I'm going to continue right where we were because there's several points that I want to make. Look, who's going to prison for all these fraudulent licenses? And the answer is my prediction. You're going to hear a bunch of talk. Everybody's going to be incensed. Everyone's going to kind of virtually riot about it and be like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. And at the end of the day, nothing's going to happen to anybody. And they might get it stopped, which is the first blessing. But I need accountability here. I need transparency and accountability from these companies, from government, from those who are in charge of these accounts. We need to claw back a lot of this money from these companies. We've got a lot of work to do, people. But I'm predicting none of it will get done. Good for Elon Musk bringing it to our attention. Now we, the people, must take action, right? Hang tight, more in seconds.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Israel has renewed its aerial bombardment of the Gaza Strip, so after a couple of months, the fragile Gaza ceasefire has collapsed. The BBC's Yolande Nell in Jerusalem.
This is Israel saying that it's carrying out preemptive strikes against Hamas to stop it from rearming and from regrouping. We had Israeli officials coming out saying that this was open-ended. It was expected to expand this Israeli military operation, and that the idea is that from now on, the Israeli Prime Minister's office said Israel will act against Hamas with increasing military strength.
After 9 months stuck aboard the International Space Station, astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams finally on their way back home. They're headed back to Earth aboard a SpaceX capsule. President Trump and Russian President Putin have a phone call today.
The two leaders will talk about ending the Russia-Ukraine war, says White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt.
We've never been closer to a peace deal than we are in this moment, and the president, as you know, is determined to get one done.
The president told reporters he and Putin have a very good chance of bringing the war to an end. Meanwhile, European allies are worried about what kinds of concessions might be made. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton announcing the arrest of a Houston area midwife charged with the illegal performance of an abortion, a second-degree felony, as well as practicing medicine without a license. Hungarian lawmakers passing a law banning so-called pride events and allowing authorities to use facial recognition software to identify attendees. The measure passing with a vote of 136 to 27. On Wall Street this morning, stocks are lower. The Dow is down close to 300 points, while the Nasdaq is off 348. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Financing a home, especially in today's market, is one of the biggest decisions you'll make for your family. Work with a mortgage company that puts you first. I do. Work with a lender founded on biblical principles like do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. I do. It's Mike Gallagher for the only mortgage company I've used for almost a decade now when financing or refinancing Fellowship Home Loans. I'm friends with the owners, Mike and Brian. I even have them on my show occasionally. I know the care their team puts into every single customer. I can personally tell you that it's a smooth, stress-free process, and that's due to Fellowship's level of service and expertise that puts you in the right loan for your family and your goals. There's a reason Fellowship Home Loans is flooded with 5-star reviews. Whether purchasing a home or a cash-out refi to consolidate some higher interest debt, you can trust Fellowship Home Loans. Start the process. Make the call. 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids."
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement, how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at cspoa.org. That's cspoa.org.
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, back with you live. We're talking about these incredible conversations between Ted Cruz and Elon Musk. WND.com has 2 articles about this. One of them is from Ted Cruz. The other one's from Bob Unruh. Ted Cruz, senator, as you know. And I want to continue with this airing of this a little bit because it's very interesting, this conversation between Elon Musk and Ted Cruz. So basically Ted saying, what the heck's going on with this? And Elon saying, hey, they're spending money everywhere. They've got fake computers that just generate money out of thin air. We've identified 14 of them. Every government agency is spending money into oblivion. There's all kinds of software licenses paying these big tech companies big money. Well, no wonder big tech's taking over then, huh? The government's funding it with illegal money, magic computers, setting out money. Okay, then you got all these licenses for the media and everything else. No one's using them. There needs to be accountability. Criminals need to go to jail. But their conversation continues. It's 30 minutes long, so I can't cover it all. But here's a little more of this. I'll tell you when to stop, Liz, but go ahead. This is interesting.
Or like credit cards. You found the same thing with government credit cards.
We found that there are twice as many credit cards as there are humans.
Could
and I still don't have a good explanation for why this is the case. And these are $10,000 limit cards. So it's a lot of money.
Is it incompetence that you're finding, or is this like the biggest money laundering scheme in the history of the world that you're finding?
Look, I think it's mostly, if you say, look, what's the waste to fraud ratio?
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's like 80% waste, 20% fraud. But you do have these sort of gray areas.
Yep.
Example
would be, we saw a lot of payments going out of Treasury that had no payment code and no explanation for the payment. And then we're trying to figure out what that payment is, and we'd see that, okay, that contract was supposed to be shut off, but someone forgot to shut off that contract, and so the company kept getting money.
Wow.
Now, is that waste or fraud?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, both. It's sort of, you know, you're getting something you're not supposed to get.
You're not supposed to get it, but the government sent it to you, and nobody from the government asked for it back. Take, for example, the $1.9 billion given to Stacey Abrams, a fake NGO.
Utter insanity.
Explain that. Forget the story.
That's corrupt. That's just corrupt, I think. That's paying off cronies at that point.
1,000%.
Yeah. And by the way, she knew. Like when you get $2 billion, you don't miss that. That's not
an accident.
Allegedly, it was for environmentally friendly appliances or something, and they've given like 100 appliances so far for $2 billion. It's a very expensive toaster oven.
Really nice.
One hell of an appliance.
That Sub-Zero fridge, boy, it's nice.
Right. This is obviously one of the biggest scam fraud holes we've uncovered, which is really crazy. Is that the government can give money to a so-called nonprofit with very few controls, and then there's no auditing subsequently of that nonprofit. So there's no. So this is with the $1.9 billion to Stacey Abrams, they then give themselves extremely lavish, like insane salaries, expense everything to the nonprofit. Buy jets and homes and all sorts of things.
Live like kings and queens.
Yes,
on the taxpayer dime.
Correct.
You mentioned
and this is happening at scale. It's not just one or two. We're seeing this everywhere.
Now, one of the things you told me about is what you call
insane.
Magic money computers at the Treasury. So tell us about it, because I never heard of that until you brought that up.
Okay, so you may think that that the government computers all talk to each other. They synchronize. They add up what funds are going somewhere, and it's it's coherent. There's and that the numbers, for example, that you're presented as a senator, are actually the real numbers.
One would think.
One would think. They're not.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're not totally wrong, but they're probably off by 5% or 10% in some cases. So I call it magic money computer, any computer which can just make money out of thin air. That's magic money.
So how does that work?
It just issues payments.
And you said there's something like 11 of these computers at Treasury that are sending out trillions in payments?
They're mostly at Treasury. Some are, but there's some at HHS, some there's one or two at State, there's some at DOD. I think we found now 14 magic money computers.
But there you have it. You've got this deal. And here's what happens. Every single line item that Musk points out, hey, 2 trillion this, 2 billion that, 200,000 this, 2 billion supposedly went to Stacey Abrams. Well, Snopes and everybody, all the liberal, whacked out, extreme fact checkers say, no, that's not accurate. She didn't personally take the money. Well, now we got to debate personally versus an organization. Then they say, well, she didn't really hit up the organization they claim. Fine. But we got to really put truth on the table. If nobody's receiving this money and it's not happening, then let me ask you a question, because I'm not very intelligent. Liz, help me with this. I'm not very intelligent. My producer's Liz, by the way. I'm not very intelligent. If this money's not being spent like Doge and Elon Musk claims that it is, then when Doge stops the money from flowing, why are they rioting? If there's no money flowing, when Doge stops it, why would they care? It wasn't flowing in the first place, so there's nothing to stop, right? See how dumb I am? But they're rioting that he's stopping everything. I mean, he's going to basically paralyze government. He's going to ruin society. No one's going to have a job. The whole world's going to go. How is that going to happen if they're not spending the money on the things that he says they are? And Liz says it's because they want chaos. And I think she's exactly spot on that. She's right as rain. But these 14 magic money computers, Elon Musk says the Democrats are using $200 billion in tax money to pay for support in elections. Where does this go? Now, a lot of this money, Elon Musk and those guys highlighted, is going to contracts for software or contracts with media companies. Well, Donald Trump said he was going to end the New York Times. He says these people are done. Well, all the New York Times has done is grown. How have they grown, you ask? Well, I don't have the facts. I'm not Doge, and I don't have the inside story, but we know a lot of these media companies got money, right? Well, as far as I understand, the New York Times, quote, newspaper, in other words, hard paper subscriptions is tanking. It's like dropping into the 600,000 range. It's not even 1 million anymore. Not even close. But they say their digital revenue is skyrocketing. The NYT, that's the New York Times, they say, has now reached 11.4 million subscribers. Katie Robinson with this piece. Annual revenue for 2024 was $2.6 billion, up from $2.4 billion in 2023. So they've slightly increased their revenue. But $2.4 billion to $2.6 billion, it's a lot of money, but it's not that much, right? $2.4 billion to $2.6 billion. I don't even understand what $2.6 billion is in a literal sense. It's hard for me to understand these numbers just because I don't understand billions and trillions of dollars personally. And I know people will be like, oh, Sam, you're kind of an idiot. Just add zeros and you should figure it out. No, I understand all that. I've seen the videos where people are like showing warehouses full of money and it's as high as it can be and as far as the eye can see. And if you were to total, put dollars end to end or in a stack that'd reach the moon. I mean, I hear all these different things, right? I get it. But when you have $2.6 billion for your revenue, $2.6 billion and you have 11.4 million subscribers, how does that work, folks? Again, I'm not very smart, but I look at that and I just don't understand. How do I do 2.6 billion? Let's see. How many zeros do I got to add, right? Let's see. 26 billion. I need how much again? 260 billion? What's the number? Oh, 2.6 billion. Oh, yeah, it's really small. 2,600,000,000. Is that 2.6 billion? Yeah, that's right. Okay. Now, I take that and I divide that by what? 11.4 million? Right? Let's see. It's hard to 11 million, 400. Okay. You divide those big numbers, this 2.6 trillion by 11.4 million. It's like $228 a person from a newspaper per year. How do they get that kind of money? Well, Sam, they buy things and the New York Times gets a piece of what people buy. At some point, the number's just way out of whack. Even Costco doesn't get that kind of money on their memberships, folks. Annual revenue, $2.6 billion, up from $2.4 billion. Now listen, they say the New York Times added more than 1.1 million net digital subscribers in 2024 alone. How do they add over 1 million people in 1 year? Is that really true? Paying subscribers? Or does this tie into the Doge claim about contracts? Does the right hand know what the left hand is doing? Hang tight, I've got more.
The Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit legal foundation committed to protecting our unalienable right to publicly acknowledge God. The Foundation for Moral Law exists to restore the knowledge of God in law and government and to acknowledge and defend the truth that man is endowed with rights not by our fellow man, but by God. The foundation maintains a twofold focus. First, litigation within state and federal courts. Second, education, conducting seminars to teach the necessity and importance of acknowledging God in law and government. How can you help? Please make a tax-deductible contribution, allowing foundation attorneys to continue the fight. You may also purchase various foundation products as well at morallaw.org. Located in Montgomery, Alabama, the Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 founded by Judge Roy Moore. Please partner with us to achieve this important mission. morallaw.org.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
They claim that, hey, all these subscribers are what got the New York Times all of its money. And 66% of it from, I guess, that and the rest from advertising. But, man, I don't understand that. That's literally $200 plus per person per year. Who pays more than $200 a year for a newspaper? And every newspaper I see, they're like, oh, we'll give you a big old discount to sign up digitally, right? But the New York Times has reached 11.4 million subscribers. Annual revenue, $2.6 billion. The New York Times added more than 1.1 million net-only digital subscribers in 2024 alone. Are you buying this, folks? I'm not accepting this. Something is wrong. Could this be part of the Elon Musk point? Well, if you research, all the fact checkers say, no, the New York Times didn't get any money from government. No. But did they? And when you look at these nonprofits that Elon Musk says tons of money are going to, you go, okay, is there some nonprofit somewhere that somehow gets the money that then passes it to the New York Times? I don't know the answer, and I'm not trying to make accusations. What I am trying to say is that we need to follow the money, though, and we need transparency and accountability, and we need to audit, as Elon Musk is doing. And when Elon Musk says there's 14 computers that are magic money machines, and they're sending out money just willy-nilly to all kinds of people, and when we hear all these allegations of Elon Musk and Trump saying all this money's going to all these crazy places, what's the truth? Trump said the New York Times would be done. They're so bad. They're reporting they're horrible. And all they've done is grown. Their digital presses are cranking up, and they're adding subscribers like nobody's business. Just imagine adding 1.1 million in 1 year alone. That's huge growth. It's like 10% growth in 1 year. Now, your newspaper site is tanking. I get it. But, man, that's just very strange. And I wonder, is there a tie between those two things? And I don't know the answer. But I would encourage, if anybody's listening to me now, I would encourage Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, whoever, dig into this. Get to the bottom of it. Do the investigation. Come with the pay dirt. Come with the receipts. Get it done. And then prosecute these people for their criminal activities. You got to stop them. And you got to create accountability. Let me give you another story towards the end of the hour that just shocks me. And again, some would say, well, Sam, whenever it's your guys getting a bunch of money, you'd be hands off. You'd be all cool. And you'd act like it's no big deal. It's just when the other side of the aisle gets a bunch of money, you want to riot and go crazy. No, stop. I'm as fair as it gets. I do my very best to tell the truth. I'm a truth teller. I do my very best to promote God, family, and country, and that's in my personal life and my public life. This isn't a game. This is real. This is where the rubber meets the road. Okay? So now listen up carefully, because I'm going to now slaughter the other side a little bit. This news article is in KSL.com, one of the biggest news organizations in the state of Utah. Now, I wonder if KSL got money, but that's a whole nother topic. I'm not trying to cast aspersions on everybody, but I'm telling you right now, I didn't get any government money. I can promise you that. I run things on a shoestring and don't hardly have any money. But listen to this headline. Headline says, The Chosen. I mean, that's been one of my favorite series to talk about on the radio ever since it came out a couple of years ago. I've been talking about it, loving it, looking forward to it. The next season is supposed to come out March 28th. Man, that's in 10 days? Bring it. I love it. Good work, good stuff. However, they say this, The Chosen and movie starring Steve Carell among latest productions receiving, quote, Utah incentives. KSL.com. So now Utah is giving incentives to The Chosen movie. I've got a problem with that. This is what I mean by, it's all up and down the line. Now, you can't debate this one. It's only the state of Utah. It's not national or federal or whatever word you want to use. General government level. It's only Utah. You say, Sam, why are you bringing that up to the rest of the nation? Because I want you to know how criminal Utah is. Where does Utah get authority to take my tax dollars and rape my wallet, steal from my family, and give it to the Chosen people? Now, I love the Chosen, but why are they on the dole? Why are they on the special privilege list? Why are they getting Utah incentives? When am I going to get Utah incentives for my movie? See, I want to create a movie about Sheriff Richard Mack, the guy that beat Bill Clinton at the Supreme Court. I want to make a movie about his life. It's a tremendous life. It's an incredible life. I mean, he comes from rookie, bad guy cop, just out for tickets and revenue and whatever, to constitutional conservative who stood up against, the most powerful man in the world? President Clinton? Yeah. And he stood up against him and won. That is a story worth telling. That is a 10th Amendment decision worth celebrating. That is incredible. Well, anyway, I commend Sheriff Richard Mack for that win. It cost him and the Gun Owners of America and National Rifle Association and a bunch of people a bunch of money. I mean, the whole thing cost almost, I guess it was over $500,000, so $600,000 to win. Of course, the government, Bill Clinton, nobody had to pay anything back, even though they lost. They should have, but that's another topic. How do you get the government to pay? But I digress. The reason I'm bringing this up is, what about my movie getting what do they call this thing, an incentive? Utah incentives? What are Utah incentives? The answer is Utah stole money from the families of Utah, and they're giving it to the Chosen. Now, I love the Chosen, but I've got a problem with these people. I've got a problem with Steve Carell. I don't know if Steve Carell got any money, but if so, I have a problem with that from the government. But the Chosen got money. Why should they get money and incentives? Well, we could, have our movie produced here or there. Who's going to give us the biggest handout to go to their place for? It's wrong. It needs to stop. So I'm as cheerful on The Chosen as anybody, folks. I love it. It's a great series. But I'm against them taking money. So I'm against the New York Times taking money. I'm against Politico taking money. I'm against The Chosen taking money. Why am I against it so much? Especially when it's my good guys, right? And the answer is because it's wrong. Okay? It's wrong. And we have got to stop it. And we've got to stop it now. Right? We have got to stop it. And I don't know who's going to stop it, but I'm going to do my very best to be part of that. Part of the Stop It campaign. You've got to stop it. And the only way I know to stop it is to shut down these 14, what does Elon Musk call them, magic money machines? What are they called? 14 magic money computers or magic money machines? Okay, it's a disaster. Well, here's the answer. Because I always want to end the program on solutions. I don't believe in things that aren't solution-oriented, right? So here's the solution, in my opinion. Senator Mike Lee, that's in the Senate, and Kentucky Representative Thomas Massie in the House introduced legislation to abolish the Federal Reserve. The bill is titled the Federal Reserve Board Abolition Act. Boy, how did we need that, right? Well, I commend them for their leadership on this, but man, we're not getting enough traction. Why isn't that the main focus of Elon Musk? Elon Musk needs to say, I'm partnering with Mike Lee. I'm partnering with Thomas Massie. We're getting to the bottom of this thing. We're going to abolish and audit the Fed. By the way, whatever happened with them going into Fort Knox? Did they do that like they promised they would or not? Man, I haven't heard a word about it. It was a big old flash in the pan a few weeks ago. What happened to that in the news? See what I mean? We see over and over and over that they do this. They don't deliver, right? They just talk. Talk and talk and talk and, right? But at the end of the day, I don't really see anything being done. When are we going into Fort Knox? When are we going to get to the bottom of this? Are we going to really, I appreciate Elon Musk going on Ted Cruz's show and talking about this. The verdict, that's great. But is Ted Cruz backing Mike Lee's bill? I'm going to have to call Mike Lee's office and ask. Is Ted Cruz backing Mike Lee's office? Because if Ted Cruz is going to be on the TV circuit with a TV show or whatever, telling you how horrible all these expenditures are, and Elon Musk is going to tell them about magic computers, making money out of nothing, then why don't we do something about it? Remember, I'm the guy that says Congress needs to do something. The Congress can't be missing in action here. Well, now Mike Lee leads the charge in Congress, in the Senate. Thomas Massie leads the charge in the House. Everybody and their dog should be on these bills. And that's something that they need to be talking about. So I commend Mike Lee. I commend Thomas Massie for their leadership on this. It's tremendous work. But we, the people, and our other congressional critters need to back their play. And we need to do it now. And I want to follow the money. I want to know who's getting this money. On one hand, you hear over and over, Elon says the money's going here. Then fact checkers over at Scoops and whatever other garbage group they have. The money didn't go here. That's a lie. The money didn't this and that. And when you parse hairs, you find out, the money really went to where they said it did. It just isn't exactly as they claim. They simplified it. It's more complicated than that, or whatever they want to say. Well, folks, we better get involved. I think the statement is absolutely right that was made about Trump. Okay? He has got to defy the Supreme Court. If he doesn't, he's going to literally lose the presidency. Right? That's what we got to think about. That's what we need to think about. Right? We've got to get to the bottom of this. And it starts with releasing the JFK files, doesn't it? I started with that, and I'm going to end with that. Let's watch and see what happens. But Trump must defy rogue judges or risk his presidency. Yeah, the blaze. All right, God save our republic.